the site of a heavyweight fight known as the rematch between the Ravens and the Titans. Lamar Jackson, reigning MVP, starting to play like one again. Third straight playoff appearance, but 0 postseason wins. He's heard all about it, in part thanks to Tennessee. Titans riding their 2,000-yard rusher. That would be Derrick Henry. And with a little help from Ryan Tannehill, it's pick your poison. It's about to get physical in Nashville.
You ready? All right, let's do it. Pop is short for popular.
I'm a pop star, not a doctor.
And there is nothing wrong with that.
Last year I kept it on the tuck, ayy.
It means you've connected with the current. And your fortune and fame is a just reward.
Big trust. Big trust.
2, 4, 6, 8. Watch this factory so they appreciate. Crown in my hand and I'm really playing keep away.
But hold on. Oh, get off me. The playoffs are not a popularity contest. They're a reality check. No likes, just bottom lines. Run or run down. Can't catch that. Win or go home.
Like Superman. How do you like that?
Lamar, deliver on the promise your best moments have made.
Here's Houdini.
And Derrick, let nothing and no one stand in your way. Oh, they'll love you for it.
Hit him in the mouth. Yes, sir.
But this ain't about making friends.
If you ain't never been pissed off, this the time.
It's about getting that ring. The playoffs. It's about to get real, mother.
Yes, sir, it is. From Nashville, this is a big one. 2 11-5 teams, powerhouses in the AFC, and yes, they are familiar foes. It has been one super wild card weekend already, and more up for us today as we get set for Ravens and Titans. We're talking about it from up north in New York City. About 47 minutes to go until kickoff in this one. I want to say hello and welcome to Postseason NFL Countdown here on ESPN and ABC. I'm Sam Ponder, Randy Moss, Rex Ryan, Teddy Bruschi, Matt Hasselbeck.
Time to get real.
Teddy's got a little extra energy today.
Let's go.
All right, so let's talk storylines because there are a lot of them in this early game. This will be the third meeting between these teams in the last year. The Titans went into Baltimore in last season's divisional round and knocked off MVP Lamar Jackson, who had 1 touchdown and 3 turnovers in that game. They faced off again with some pregame antics in Week 11 this season, and it was an overtime thriller. The Ravens led 21-10 in the third quarter, but Henry rushed for 133 yards and the game winner in OT as Tennessee came out on top 30-24. Well, let's bring in our reporters, Diana Rossini and Lisa Salters, who are there at Nissan Stadium in Nashville. Let's start with Diana on the Titans. You've been covering these guys for a while. Diana, what's the very latest?
Yeah, Sam, let's just address the elephant in the room. This Titans defense is leaky, but they think this is a great matchup for them. Malcolm Butler saying this is going to be a bloodbath, a physical battle for them. The goal, keep Lamar Jackson lateral, outside the numbers, and defend those deep shots. As for their offense, their captain, Derrick Henry, I said to him, you're going to have a massive workload for you guys to win. He said, yeah, I know, and I love it. Now let's send it over to Lisa Salters, who's with the Ravens.
Diana, it's no secret that the 5-game winning streak that the Ravens are riding into these playoffs coincides with the return of Lamar Jackson from the COVID list. Jackson has said that being out with the virus made him hungrier to play and gave him a lot of time to think about his game. He said he realized that he needed to get back to playing Lamar football. So instead of sitting in the pocket, overthinking when things break down, to get out and make something happen. Ravens offensive coordinator Greg Roman told us that Jackson has been playing as good or better than anybody else in the league the last 5 weeks, and this playoff game today, Roman said, is no different. It's about Lamar playing his game. He's just got to be him. Sam?
Yeah, Lisa, I'm pretty sure our guys are all in agreement on that. They've been saying that all year, even when he was struggling. But Teddy, when I look at this game, I mean, it's kind of a weird feeling because you don't typically think of Ravens-Titans, oh, that's a big rivalry game, but it feels like it is.
It is. There's more to it than just schemes in this game. And sometimes playoffs are not about advancing. Sometimes a game is about squashing something. And this for the Baltimore Ravens is about squashing the fact that they have been owned by the Tennessee Titans. And last year in the divisional playoffs right here, when Lamar Jackson throws this interception right here, Hasselbeck, I'm telling you.
overthrows.
You got it. Sometimes quarterbacks take it personal and tackle guys.
That's a bad feeling when you throw an interception, but you know what? It's the perfect time to make a tackle on an interception. But check this out. The face mask, the horse collar, that's a sign of frustration coming out in a young quarterback.
And that shows it all right there. Vrabel's always into it. He wants the calls. He's got his guys back, and almost like in that divisional round, just throw it in your face coaching-wise, Rex, because it's like, listen, we know you're tough, but we can trick you. Lamar got a little mad right there. There's the frustration.
Oh, yeah, no question. And how about frustration? Look at this one right here, Brew.
That's the pregame exchange.
Man, right there, everybody knows, man, that crest is sacred on your field. And, man, oh, man, we heard Diana talk about there's going to be a bloodbath. She's right. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Braves does not care. Coach Vrabel doesn't care. Coach Harbaugh doesn't care. There's the fake punts. And this is sort of a message, too. We know, John Harbaugh, you're a special teams coach, but you know what? Our special teams are better than yours. Sam, it's about sending message. It's about intimidation. Harbaugh doesn't want this on week 11, doesn't want the handshake. These type of things, this is the type of rivalry, Moss, we're talking about right now when it's talking almost like the new rivalry in the league. It's the Titans, it's the Ravens.
You know, you're talking about that bloodbath, and I will agree with you, but what I'm looking for, you got the best of what both teams do. You got the running game with a two-headed monster, or really a three-headed monster if you add Gus the Bus in for the Baltimore Ravens with Dobbins and Jackson, but we're talking about King Henry on the other side. Maybe the first half of this game, I might go to the store, put my feet up, because, Matt, the second half is when I'm interested in this game. Who is going to be able to close the door for their franchise? I just talked about what the Baltimore Ravens have, but King Henry, I'm talking about doing things by himself. What the Baltimore Ravens missed, we'll get in that in a minute, but I'm looking to see if King Henry can shut the door like he did in Week 11.
Man, he sure did, and that is scary, but I'm going to tell you something. What's the answer that the Baltimore Ravens had? Eric DaCosta went out and got Calais Campbell.
Yes.
Guys, he hadn't played in those last two games, and neither has the big nose tackle Williams. Will they be the difference in this game? I don't know, but the Ravens sure think they will. We're getting ready to find out.
See, listen, I think the difference in this game is great quarterback play. You got two great quarterbacks. We've already talked a lot about Lamar Jackson. Yes, I agree. He's playing great football, probably better than anybody the last 5 weeks. On the other side, though, Ryan Tannehill. We don't talk about him because of Derrick Henry. I get that. But Ryan Tannehill, we're talking about QBR. The only guys ahead of Ryan Tannehill this year are Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen. Ryan Tannehill is the huge reason, if not, maybe even the biggest reason that Tennessee has turned this thing around and Mike Vrabel is having the success that he's having. If Tennessee's going to get the win today, it's going to be, I believe, because Ryan Tannehill outduels Lamar Jackson.
No duo needs each other more than Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. They're not effective without each other. Now they're super effective with each other. And man, oh man, it's kind of like Batman and Robin.
Yeah, and sometimes Lamar Jackson sort of gets just thought of as that running type of quarterback. But, I mean, we've talked about it, guys, about him just in that pocket off a play-action pass, at moments being a great drop-back passer. Watch for him taking shots down the field. He has been so good as a quarterback throwing the ball too, Sam. So Lamar Jackson, Ryan Tannehill, two quarterbacks. I mean, they don't get brought up right this year in terms of the MVP race with Rodgers and Mahomes, but these guys are playing great football.
I don't think they get brought up because these two teams are known for their toughness. And no offense to you, Matt, that's not necessarily what you think of when you think of a quarterback. You're thinking about ground and pound. So I just want to know.
Put it on the list.
I just want to know which team's tougher, Teddy.
That's a tough question, but I'll give you the obvious answer. The toughest team is the Tennessee Titans, and they've shown it the last two games, and they've not only done it, they've rubbed it in their faces in the way that they've done it. I just think the Titans...
No chance. No chance. I'm going to take the Ravens. Are you kidding me? I coached there 10 years, Bruce.
Well, they got to answer the question.
That's a personal reason.
This year.
A.J. Brown is the wide receiver.
No doubt about that. about to find out. Rex, take yourself out of it for a second, all right? More coming on Countdown.
But more about me.
Wake up.
Wake up! Coming up, it's Action Jackson. As Lamar looks to earn his first playoff win today, we're going all access with the reigning MVP.
The narrative is they can't win playoff games, so we just got to make that change, and we just got to go out there and play at the end of the day.
Plus, how Baker Mayfield can shock Big Ben without his head coach and send the city of Cleveland into a frenzy. Find out who's taking the upset. And after King Henry ran past 2,000 yards last week, we've gathered the best backs in the 2K club.
My dad was there on the sidelines, so for him to be able to witness that, it made it that much more special for me.
Very blessed to have teammates that I have. Those guys definitely important.
But first, we've got your all-access pregame pass on the field with all the stars as Countdown continues.
Wake up. This is NFL Countdown.
The 14-team playoff field is now set.
Yes, I got it right. Yes.
We knew we'd get there someday. They said, I bet they'll never make it. But just look at us holding on.
He caught it.
You're still the one I run to, the one I belong to. You're still the one I
Baltimore Ravens select Lamar Jackson.
One day to the college football playoff national championship game on ESPN.
Welcome back to Postseason NFL Countdown presented by Subway. It was a roller coaster season for Lamar Jackson, but even so, he still rushed for over 1,000 yards. The first QB in NFL history with 1,000 rush yards in multiple seasons. But it's not just that. He's also got the highest QBR in the last 5 games. So many things to watch for with his offense today, but he's not the only quarterback we're talking about today. We're also talking about one who's not even playing in these games because there's some big news, and for that we get to our Chris Mortensen. What can you tell us on Deshaun Watson, Mort?
Yeah, listen, the stories out of Houston this week that he was unhappy with the as the hiring of general manager Nick Caserio took place without him being informed, actually having to learn on social media when he was promised he would be in the loop, and also not interviewing Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy has basically spurned Watson to a state of mind that he could force a trade this offseason. And even though he has a no-trade clauses, one of those landing spots that would be sweet to him would be the Miami Dolphins, which would involve Tua Tagovailoa going to Houston for Watson and some additional compensation. Now, that part's kind of informed speculation, Adam, but it just promises that the offseason is going to be very interesting with Deshaun Watson, not just Carson Wentz.
And how about that for an all-season storyline? Tua for Deshaun, another compensation. Deshaun Watson also could decide to withhold his services, and there are some people of the opinion that that's a possibility and an option out there for him as well. As for today's games, more, the Cleveland Browns are going to be without 4 players and 4 coaches, including their head coach, Kevin Stefanski, who tested positive. Now, Stefanski is doing well. He is recovering. If the Browns win today, he'll be back for next week. But he is going to be like any other Cleveland Browns fan later on today. He is in the basement of his Cleveland home by himself, alone, shutting off the phone, and he will be watching the Browns' first playoff game in nearly 2 decades on the team that he's the head coach of in his basement on a 60-inch color high-definition television. What head coach watches his team's playoff game? That is the kind of season that we've had, Sam, so far.
Yeah. I feel safe saying that's never happened before. Usually after you're done sitting with the rest of us in our basements yelling at the TV, it's going to be strange
Sounds like a
for
good TV,
him
though.
today. It does. I'm sure it's
I appreciate that.
Let's pick this game. Browns Steelers. We saw it last week, Randy, but it's going to look a whole lot different out there today.
Well, you know, Sam, I'm not going to talk a lot about the X's and O's, but I'm going to talk about what the head coach means. You have one guy, Coach Stefanski. I know he's going to be emotional to this. Get well soon, Coach. But Bill Callahan is out to the offensive line. Everything that their running game stands for in Cleveland, going against a Hall of Fame coach and Coach Tomlin, that's a no-winner. I'm going with the Hall of Fame coach. Give me Tomlin in the Pittsburgh
Randy,
Steelers.
you're right. This is all about matchups right here. And the matchup I'm looking at is at the head coach position. You heard Adam talk about one's in the basement and one's Mike Tomlin. Give me Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, I feel for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, a lot of players not playing, no coaches being there, but the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, they played the JV last week. They're not going to play the varsity. And part of that varsity squad is TJ Watt on the edge. And this is a player that had a Defensive Player of the Year worthy season. Okay, maybe some few votes for that, but him off of the edge has been a disruptor. He gets after the quarterback. Great job by TJ this year, also stopping the run, sets the edge, does so many things. Probably their best defender, pound for pound. Let's go TJ Watt and those Pittsburgh Steelers. Just tough break for the Cleveland
listen,
Browns.
the Browns are building something special. If they're going to win today, it's got to be Nick Chubb and it's got to be Baker Mayfield continuing not to turn the ball over. He's got the best streak of all the active guys, but I just think it's too much. You mentioned the head coach, you mentioned the offensive line coach, all the other players that aren't in. I got to go with the Steelers today.
Were you watching the Steelers in this last month? The Steelers have not looked good recently. I know what happened last week. I know the odds are against the Browns.
Go ahead.
The odds were against them to even get here in the first place. It's been a long time. I'm saying go Brownies, go. I am taking the Cleveland Browns in the upset win today. I'm all in on Team Brown.
Where's your Brown at?
I should have today. I'm sorry about that. Let's get back to Nashville, shall we? Where Marquise Hollywood Brown out there today leads the team in receiving yards, 8 touchdown catches this season, but most importantly, playing some of his best football late in the year, and that's what matters most as it's wildcard playoff time. Let's get to what's coming up later in the show. Derrick Henry finished off a historic season with the 5th most rushing yards of all time. So we gathered the best backs to talk about it.
Out-of-body experience, you know, it's kind of like someone is doing the work for you.
To me, to be able to join the guys who've done it before me is just, it's an honor.
Welcome back to Postseason NFL Countdown presented by Subway. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, celebrating the endless pursuit of forward momentum. Goodyear, more driven. Well, no surprise here, but Derrick Henry is the latest member of the 2K club, becoming the 8th running back ever to rush for 2,000 yards in a season. But it's not just this season. Dating back to week 17 last year, Henry has rushed for the most yards in a 20-game span in NFL history. Our Diana Rossini takes us inside the 2,000-yard club.
I remember watching Jamal Lewis. I definitely seen Chris Johnson, seen Adrian Peterson. To be able to join the guys who've done it before me is just, it's an honor.
Did any of the guys from the 2K fraternity reach out to you?
Yeah, definitely. Barry Sanders, Eric Dickerson tweeted at me. Even O.J. Simpson, all those guys. Is very cool to be a part of that group.
He's got it! Terrell Davis! Chris Johnson has done it. Favoring 2,000 yards. He's running back immortality.
As the year continued to go, I kept putting up big numbers, and it went from it being a joke to this guy really got a chance of going for 2,000 yards.
Thought about me just being better than I was last year, and then whatever happens.
It was almost just like throwing a no-hitter and being in that zone.
I never had any doubts that I was going to pass that mark.
You're 223 yards away from hitting 2,000. At what point during the game did you realize, I think this could happen?
we were rolling, and I was breaking off big runs, and you just feel the momentum.
I won't forget the play. Came to the hole, and Jeff Kemp, he kneeled down, he looked at me, he said, "What play you want?"
And they're all on their feet for Eric Dickerson. Single-season rushing record.
I'm standing there, and everything is just running through my mind, thinking about, number one, don't fumble the ball. And finally, as my mind is still going through the thoughts, the ball snapped. And I'm like, oh.
He's got it. Terrell Davis. Touchdown, Jamal Lewis to go over the 2,000 mark. Rick Johnson has done it.
Adrian, 2,000 yards. He's running back immortality.
I recall, looking at the Jumbotron and seeing the 2,000 up there. It felt electrifying inside.
Barry cut back. He's well over 2,000 now.
My dad was there on the sidelines, so for him to be able to witness that, it made it that much more special for me.
I didn't even know I was going to focus on, let's get to the end zone, let's win this game, let's win the division.
Henry charging forward at 2,000. History for the King.
That's why there's only 8. Last game, he rested 250 yards, chopping at the bit to get into that club.
It's just an indescribable feeling. I never thought it would be me.
I mean, it's quite a club, Randy, but all those guys know what it means is there's a target on your back because they know what's coming, and especially in a game like this. What do you think the key is for Derek and this Titans offense today?
Well, first off, Sam, let me say congratulations to Derrick Henry, 2,000 yards. To be in a club like that, man, is definitely a great accomplishment. But when I look in this game today, I just said earlier about the difference between the first half and the second half. I'm very interested to see what type of carries that Derrick Henry is going to have in the second half, because I do believe that he's been the Tennessee Titans closer ever since he was drafted there. So I think the Baltimore Ravens have their work cut out for him. If Derrick Henry is given the ball late in the fourth quarter, 4-minute football, then that means it's been a long day for the Baltimore Ravens. If I was up the week, Martindale, why don't you put the ball in his hands and not let them outside runs, mainly the zone runs, gas your defense. It's a big day for Derrick Henry.
Yeah, Randy, you're exactly right. Listen, he's the closer, he's the starter. There's a reason they call him King Henry. But let me tell you who King Henry is a fan of, and let me tell you who he is shouting out. King Henry is shouting out King Arthur Smith, the guy that's up for all 6 head coaching positions. Why? Because he's got it rolling. The defense doesn't know if it's a run or a pass. Practice makes perfect. Yeah. Perfect practice makes perfect, okay? Check out the landmarks. It's all about getting the outside end of the tight end, outside leg. We're going to make the runs look like the passes. We're going to make our fastball look like our changeup. The defense can't feel the difference. They can't know the difference. Check this out. Is it a run or is it a pass? We're going to make it all look the same. The run looks just like the pass. You can't even feel it. This isn't even Derrick Henry in the backfield. Think of what it's like when he's in there. Naked bootleg, Ryan Tannehill. We know about the great athlete that he is, getting on the edge. Now it's just a cat and mouse game. You want to come up and tackle the quarterback? Good, go ahead. I got my tight end, Johnny Smith. It's pick your poison with this team. The run game marries to the pass game, marries to the play action, and Arthur Smith's done a great job of keeping it simple for the offense and complicated for the defense.
And as hard as all of that is to defend, from the linebacker position, you really still only have one thing on your mind, and that's the run game, because that's the first thing you want to stop. So the linebackers of the Baltimore Ravens, and I'm starting with Patrick Queen, the young player at LSU, because he has got to be able to do better at stopping the run that he's done this year. You got to be great tacklers. You got to be physical tacklers. There are certain plays linebackers remember. Going to another linebacker in terms of Matthew Judon, I mean, this guy has got to be able to tackle because he missed a big one last year in the divisional. But Moss mentioned it earlier. These big men, that's how a linebacker is able to do his job very well. So Calais Campbell, Williams, those type of defensive tackles, they'll have to have big games too.
You know, Brew, you make a great point, and there's going to be the emphasis on stopping the run today. But these are two teams that don't do a really good job of rushing the passer one-on-one. So if they are able to stop the run, which team, which defensive player, which defensive lineman that you speak of can get a one-on-one rush and win the quarterback? A lot was made about Chase Young. Hey, Tom, I'm coming for you. Didn't really hear much from Chase Young yesterday. So can we hear from one of these Titans or one of these Ravens defensive linemen, stop the run? Somebody's got to get the quarterback. They can't let him sit back there all day.
Yeah, we're talking about toughness all day, and really, as much as we're focusing on these offenses, it seems like it's going to come down to which defense shows up and tries to make the difference out there. Do you guys think that there is a way that this Titans defense can slow down Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, well, this is the game that they said it. I mean, Malcolm Butler said it. He told Rossini, this is the matchup we're built for, because this is not the basketball court where you have to play fast break and defend three-pointers. I mean, you are in a boxing ring, and that's where Vrabel likes to be. That's where the defense of the Titans like to be. Let's go and slug. Let's go mash it out. These type of things, that's the Titan defense, where all of that speed and all the pass rush, it's like it's not really number one priority. The number one priority will be their ability to be tough and stop the run and be physical, especially in the fourth quarter.
Well, I know you guys have a lot to say about this, and you're going to get to say all of it, because you will be on the MegaCast on ESPN2 for the first time ever. ESPN has you covered with MegaCast coverage of today's game. On ESPN and ABC, you can see the traditional broadcast with MegaCast offerings available on ESPN Plus, ESPN Deportes, Freeform, and ESPN2, where you can see our guys right here, joined by Keyshawn Johnson and Rex Ryan in the film room to break down all the X's and O's. Still to come on Countdown, Lisa Salters one-on-one with Lamar Jackson, still looking for his first career playoff win. The reigning MVP weighs in on the elephant in the room.
Postseason NFL Countdown is presented by Subway. Subway, eat fresh.
Nissan Stadium in Nashville, the site of the early wild card game today. Ravens and Titans, an AFC rematch, and Lamar Jackson making more history this season, becoming the first quarterback to rush for 1,000 yards in multiple seasons. But now it's the postseason, where Lamar is 0-2 in his career and lost against these Titans in the divisional round last year. He sat down with our Lisa Salters ahead of his third playoff game.
Now we have a new top story. Trace McSorley in, Lamar Jackson out.
Will Lamar Jackson be back in the game?
The folks were saying that not only were you cramping back in the locker room, but you had to take care of some personal business.
Not at all. Not at all.
Lamar Jackson has returned after being in the locker room. Touchdown, Ravens! And the Ravens are on path to make the playoffs with an unbelievable comeback.
In what was already a dramatic AFC North matchup, with Baltimore leading 34-20 in the third quarter, Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson wasn't feeling quite right.
Well, it started with my throwing arm. I started cramping. So I'm like, man, coach, my hand cramping. They was like, we have time to go to the back real quick to get an IV so I can be good. I got one IV. It wasn't enough. I was still cramping. Then, like, my legs started cramping. So I just had to get some fluids in me, and I was better.
You saw the Twitter chat.
Yeah, I think that's why they said I had to take a dump or something like that. But my legs were just cramping, so I didn't want to, stride with a full stride, and that's why I just tried to wobble out on the field.
Mayfield trying to escape, turns the corner, running away from Wolf, touchdown, and he slides home.
Jackson watched from the locker room as the Ravens lead and postseason hopes started to slip away.
I was getting ticked off. He's like, man, I can't do nothing because I'm cramping. And if this cramp just go away, I need to go out there. And when I started feeling better, it was like, man, I don't care if I pull something right now. I got to just get back on the field.
You come back out there. Were you able to run the ball at that point? Or was that waddling the best you could do?
If I had to, I would have. But they dropped coverage, and I seen Marquise.
Jackson trying to throw for it, and he's got it. Marquise Brown hangs onto the football and scores.
Lamar, what do you think that you guys proved, not just to the league, but to yourselves that night in that game?
We can make a comeback. People were saying, Ravens don't make comebacks or they can't score points, and that's what we did.
What do you got to prove now?
We can win playoff games. That's it. Change the narrative.
What's the narrative?
Lamar can't win a playoff game. I guess that's the biggest narrative right now. So we just got to make that change, and when we do, they'll probably find something else to say.
I mean, I love the honesty, and he's definitely right. I mean, that's the big question for him, right? Because he got hot at the end of the season, that comeback on Monday Night Football. Teddy, what do you think the most important thing is for Lamar today?
I think Lamar coming out to start the game, I want to see him get everyone else involved. Now, because he has the ultimate control, whether I can be the runner or I can be the one that give it to JK or something like that. So I want Lamar to take the pressure off himself and sort of almost like a point guard to start. All right, find Andrews over the middle. Get Marquise Brown one shot early, okay? But maybe let everyone else get the flow of the game, because I think it's in him to put too much on himself. And I don't want him to do that. And although I've talked about the Titans being tougher, this is a special player. Save your special abilities maybe for the fourth quarter. That's what it is. Know that you have other guys that can get the job done for you.
Why is it different, Rex? I mean, we've seen him do it over the last month. Why is a game like this with this type of pressure different?
Well, I mean, it's got to be different than the last time these two teams met in the playoffs. I mean, 59 pass attempts? Like, that's ridiculous. I mean, they ought to cut that in half for sure if Baltimore's going to have a chance in this one. But to me, look, here's what they do better than anybody. They make you tackle in space. That's what the Ravens do. And so Tennessee, look, Braves knows that he'll have a good plan. There's no question about it. But my goodness, they have special players in space. Lamar Jackson being the best, and then this Dobbins kid's amazing too. And we brought up
Andrews,
Randy,
another one.
6 yards a carry, and then that Andrews kid's a great receiver. So to me, look, it's going to be a great game, a great challenge. But man, oh man, am I looking forward.
I'm glad you guys are mentioning Mark Andrews, because something about Lamar Jackson, if someone to say to me, what's the best thing that Lamar Jackson does? I would say, well, shoot, he's like a punt returner when he decides to run with the football. Good luck tackling him. However, when you're talking about the passing game, I don't think there's a quarterback in the NFL that has a better relationship with his tight end than Lamar Jackson. He and Mark Andrews have a real connection. You talk about being on the same page. Some things you can coach, some things are just natural. Randy, you know it. Receivers sometimes have that with quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson in the last 2 years has thrown more touchdowns to the tight end position than any other quarterback in the NFL. And Mark Andrews is a matchup nightmare for almost every team. I expect when plays break down, the first guy that he's going to look for is Mark Andrews, number 89. Book it.
Now, let me stay on Mark Andrews for a minute. I'm very interested in seeing offensive coordinator Greg Roman, how he's going to call this play for 4 quarters. Matt, you just talked about Mark Andrews. 4 red zone touchdowns, and I'm a big fan. You always hear me talk week in and week out about the quarterback's best friend, and I think that when you're dealing with a game like this, that Mark Andrews is able to work the middle. And something I've been critical on the Baltimore Ravens all season is the outside receiver for them. As you see Hollywood Brown. They have Snead. Hey, man, we might have an appearance by Dez Bryant. But I really think that Mark Andrews is the key focus of this passing game because of his ability to stretch the middle of the field.
And you bring up those outside receivers of the Baltimore Ravens, Moss. I mean, you got to be ready if you're a corner for the Tennessee Titans, because it's run, it's play action, it's Andrews up the middle. There's that one play. There's that 50-yard shot, Ponder. That's either to them, and Malcolm Butler's going to have to be ready for that. You rarely talk about a tone setter being the tough guy at the cornerback position, but this guy sort of typifies what Mike Vrabel's all about. Tough, grind, never quits on a play.
That's a gnat. That's a little gnat.
The 1 or 2 shots, he's got to be ready for.
Well, you can't have your eyes in the backfield thinking about the run, because that's one thing Lamar Jackson's doing a great job of right now. That little flick of the wrist post throw, or that flick of the wrist deep go ball, he will make you pay. He is an accurate deep ball thrower.
There are very few games that, once you leave the game that you wish you were playing in. You just had a shot right there, Coach Vrabel. I know. Hey, Rebo, this is just the game, guys. And he was like, I want to go in there and grind. Give me one play. I just want to set the edge on somebody because I can get it done. Look at his face. He is ready to go.
he probably could set the edge.
I feel like he's ready to go. Teddy's trying to get in this one. Let's pick the game. Ravens, Titans, the rematch. Can't wait to see it. Who's going to win it?
Whew. Well, I think we've been talking about the success of King Henry and what he's been able to do week 11. I think the interior, Brandon Williams, Calais Campbell missed week 11. We showed some footage of Calais Campbell running his mouth on the way out because he missed week 11. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens on the road. This is a big game. It's going to be a hard-fought game, but I'm going with the Ravens.
I mean, I hate picking against Tennessee because not just that I live there, but look, I love what Vrabel's done with this football team. And yes, this is built in the same image of those great Raven teams that I was a part of for 10 years. But if you think I'm going to take Tennessee over my Baltimore Ravens, absolutely not. They're not going to get whipped 3 times in a row. I'm just not buying it. And Harbs, he'll have this team popping out of their skin. We saw Calais Campbell coming in, and he was talking noise right now. They brought Calais Campbell in for this exact reason. I think Baltimore gets it done today.
Guys, like I said, some games mean more than whether it's a preseason victory or a regular season victory or even a playoff victory. This means more to these two teams because they're so identical in terms of toughness. Who is the one? Who's the toughest in the league? Who are the tough guys? The Titans have proved that it's been them the last couple of times. And Rex, you're on the Ravens. You're Raven tough. I am Titan tough. I'm going with the Tennessee Titans because I believe you get them in that boxing ring, they're going to be the ones come in the fourth quarter. You will see players wearing down, and this guy right here being the difference. I'm going Tennessee.
I've gone back and forth on this game, and you guys are all making great points. I'm going back and forth even now, but I'll say this. I think the difference is, when we haven't talked about it, Randy, you just alluded to it with Baltimore. What's going on outside at the wide receiver position? I think it's a pretty even match offensively, but if you look at Tennessee, they've got A.J. Brown, they've got Corey Davis. A.J. Brown, to me, is the Derrick Henry at the wide receiver position. He's got a stiff arm. He's got yards after the catch. Big, strong hands going up for those deep balls of Ryan Tannehill. I'll go Tennessee in this one. Should be an awesome game.
Yeah, I heard Rex say that they won 2, they can't win 3. That's the exact reason why I'm picking the Tennessee Titans. They've already proven they can win this game. They've got a variety of guys at the skill positions. I've got faith in Tennessee. I think they win and advance today. Well, how about this, fellas? The wait is over. We've been waiting all year for games like this in the playoffs. You can feel the tension there at Nissan Stadium, and it's time to get it going. The rematch is on. Lamar Jackson with an opportunity for playoff redemption. It's old school football with new school superstars. How about that? Ravens, Titans, to Nissan Stadium we go. It's the wild card playoffs on ESPN.
So disappointed
ABC.
in you, Sam. So disappointed.
Sorry, Meg.